What is going on? What is going on, Vintage Habits people? Welcome to the Vintage Habits podcast, aka the best fashion podcast in the world. Today is a bit different of an episode, so kind of like, this whole podcast thing has been very experimental for me, and so I've been trying to just experiment with different types of things, different types of lanes, and so I think I kind of am going into this direction now where I want to produce my shows a bit more high, so like more high production, more better editing, better, different styles and things of that nature. And so I know last episode I talked about tech wear and what we're going to talk about, but in Vintage Habits podcast, I was thinking about it and I was like, you know what, I just don't want to talk about fashion. I also want to talk about music and culture. And so in this episode, we are going to be discovering my top 10 favorite artists of all time. Now, this is just my top 10 list, so this doesn't necessarily mean that these are the best artists or greatest artists. These are just some of my favorite artists of all time, I would say. And if this list ever changes, then I'll be doing a part 2 on this list. But for now, these are my top 10 artists. But before we start this episode, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor at Vintage Jordy. You can use code VHP for 15% off. That's site-wide. I'll put his link in the description. Let's get right into this episode, man. Okay, so before I start my list, there are some honorable mentions that I have. And I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but these are people who just didn't quite make the top 10. And so let's get into the list. All right, so first on the list is J. Cole, man. So J. Cole has been one of my favorite artists just coming up through high school, but he didn't make the list just because, this list is just based off of how often I listen to the artists, how much I like their music and beats, how well their discography is written, and then just their versatility as far as it goes for being an artist. I really didn't like J. Cole's newer project, the Off Season, as I like some of his other projects. And I remember back in high school, J. Cole was one of my favorite artists. I actually attended a KOD concert back in 2018 when that album first came out, and I love it, man. It was my first ever concert and the only concert that I've been to. He's a great performer, but just recently I didn't like that last track. J. Cole is not really someone that I bump every day anymore. Now, if you were to ask me freshman or sophomore year, then J. Cole would definitely be on this top 10 list, but as of now, he is not. Another honorable mention I want to give to is J.I.D. Now, J.I.D. would have made this top 10 list if I enjoyed his latest project a bit more, but the Forever Story just didn't really hit with me, man. Some tracks, that slap for the most part all around. It's not something that I would listen to very often. I'm not saying I'm disappointed in the project at all. J.I.D. has improved so much just from when I started listening to him to now, but it just wasn't a project I could really sit on, Last one that we have on this list, y'all are gonna hate me for this, but another honorable mention is Kendrick Lamar, man. I've always thought J. Cole was better than Kendrick Lamar, but me personally, if you ask me, I think Good Kid, Mad City is one of the best albums of all time. Mr. Morale and the Big Stepper was just another newer project that didn't sit well with me. That's really the main reason why these guys didn't make the top 10, because their latest projects I didn't really get the feel of it, you know what I mean? I'm not saying they were bad projects at all. I just don't think they were up to par to some of their previous projects and albums. So like I said again, this is my top 10. I'll be doing another video just breaking down artists, and they will definitely be on that list. So let's get into our top 10, man. All right, coming in at number 10, we have Young Nudy. Young Nudy is just one of those artists. I don't know if it's because I'm from Atlanta. I just love the way he sounds. His tracks are very upbeat, very well produced, and I love how he integrates Pi'erre Bourne into some of his albums and into some of his tracks. I think overall he's very underrated as an artist, and I think he just needs some more attention, man. But for this list, Young Nudy sits at number 10. I really liked his EA Monster project. One of the biggest reasons I like Young Nudy is because a lot of his projects have a lot of correlation. You can really see the progression if you listen through his album, and his tracks are just fire, man. Not to mention his bars. Some of my favorite tracks from Young Nudy are Dr. Evil, The Rustlers, Bodies on Bodies, Slime Ball, and Homicide. All right, coming in at number 9, who has a lot of relevance to the previous artist, we got Pi'erre Bourne. Man, Pi'erre Bourne is just one of those artists that I've always loved listening to ever since I found him in high school. I like him less as an artist and more as a producer. I just love the tracks that he hops on. Not to say I don't like him as an artist. I think he's super underrated as an artist. I love his whole style, his aesthetic, and his just placement in the music industry, man. He's just produced so many bangers for Trippie Redd, Playboi Carti, Lil Uzi Vert, so many more artists, and I really just love seeing him grow. And like I said, I just think he's overall underrated as an artist. So we got Pi'erre at number 9. Some of my favorite tracks from Pi'erre Bourne are Guillotine, Couch, Ryuk, 4L, and Ballad. At number 7, I got Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs is just one of those classical artists, man. He's so different and probably one of the most unique on this list. I love his older style, his older taste, his rhyme scheme, and the way he just hops on tracks. He's also pretty funny.
Crackhead back in the day, I shot the nigga 9 times with a Tech 9 and he kept running down the alley.
And I wouldn't say I bump him on the daily, but at least once or twice a week, just because he's so different with his music. It's a lot of older stuff and a lot of older head stuff, and honestly I didn't like him in the beginning. He had to grow on me, but since listening to him, he has become one of my favorite artists, hence why he's number 7 on this list. Some of my favorite tracks from Freddie Gibbs are Half Man, Half Cocaine, Crime Pays, Nicks, Thuggin', and Four Things. Alright, coming in at number 6 is probably the most underrated artist on here. It's someone that I bumped pretty much in my whole senior year of high school, and someone you guys really should check out because you probably don't know about the man, the myth, the legend, Matty Woods. Matty Woods is just, it's kind of unexplainable. He's just so good. I think he needs way more hype than he does. I've put a bunch of people onto him. Everyone who's listened to him has said that his music is really, really chill. I love the vibes he brings to his tracks, his production, his flow. His voice is very smooth on the tracks, but he also adds a lot of versatility in there. He's able to hop on more chiller tracks, but also get on some more upbeat tracks, man. Like I said, he is the most underrated artist on this list, but without one of my favorites. My favorite tracks from Matty Woods are FWU, Here We Go Again, Sticky Icky, Electra, and Bless You. Make sure y'all go check out my boy Matty Woods, man. Super underrated. Okay, for number 5, I kind of cheated here, so I couldn't really decide because both of these artists are both great, amazing artists, and they have such a huge inspiration on me, both of them, and I've been listening to them for so long, so I just put them both at the number 5 spot. But let's start with who's on the latter half of the number 5. On the latter half of the number 5, we have Drake. I mean, does he even need an introduction, man? Like, it's Drake, fam. I don't know, I was never really a big fan of Drake up until maybe last year when I really started to dig into his discography, and man, this guy's just good. Banger after banger after banger. You know, I don't really like listening to mainstream Drake, but some of his older tracks and more underrated slept on tracks are so fire, man. I love his storytelling. Production is amazing. Versatility for Drake is just insane. He's able to hop on trap beats, rap beats, just really anything you throw at him. Some of my favorite tracks from Drake are Omarda, 4 p.m. in Calabasas, 7 a.m. on Bridal Path, and From Time. But he has so many more good tracks, man, and the list could go on and on. Alright, now the upper half of that number 5th spot, I have to give it to A$AP Rocky, man. Lord Pretty Flacko Jordy, man. Not only has he had one of the biggest inspirations as an artist, but just as a fashion inspiration as well. I mean, I've talked about A$AP Rocky's fits several times on this podcast. Just amazing, unbeatable. And I just love his story as well. I think the biggest thing that stands out for me with A$AP Rocky is his lyricism and the way he's able to hop on tracks and use words in ways that I couldn't even think of, especially on his features. They go insane. But A$AP Rocky is another one of those artists that also has a lot of versatility, and he's also very experimental with his music, which is something that I personally love. I also appreciate the fact that he works with so many more other artists: Skepta, French Montana, Frank Ocean, Playboi Carti. But anyway, some of my favorite tracks from A$AP Rocky are DMB, Distorted Records, OG Beeper, Lord Pretty Flacko Jordy, and Purity. Alright, coming in at number 4, we have probably one of the funniest artists on this list. At number 4 spot, I got Tyler, the Creator. I mean, what can I say, man? Just another one of those artists that's just been just a huge inspiration for me. I love Tyler because he's not afraid to speak out on certain things. He says what he says, and he's one of those artists that is kind of like non-cancelable, and he is hilarious, man. I really want to go to one of his shows. I love his Golf LaFleur and just his whole aesthetic. I also love Tyler, the Creator, because I feel like his older tracks hit just as good as some of his newer tracks, and you don't really get that from a lot of artists. His creativity is off the chain. I feel like he's one of those artists that knows he doesn't rap too well, so he complements his music with the beats, production, features, and storytelling. I really love the Igor project, and Flower Boy will like forever be one of the greatest albums that I've ever heard. But some of my favorite tracks from Tyler, the Creator are November, A Boy Is a Gun, Okra, Pothole, and Wilshire. Alright, sorry. Coming in at number 2, man. This was a really tough one for me because these last 2 artists were just so hard to choose between. But I don't think I did them dirty by putting them in the number 2 spot. We have Playboi Carti. Now, honestly, Playboi Carti has probably had the biggest effect on my style. I just remember listening and watching Carti in 2017 and just wanting to be like that. And so he's definitely had like the biggest effect on my style and inspiration. As far as his music goes, though, didn't really appreciate The Whole Lotta Red. It wasn't the worst album that I ever heard. It definitely wasn't the best. Wasn't anything I was expecting at all. But the reason he has this top 2 But the reason he's at number 2 is because of his 2 previous albums that I have to say I bump on the daily. Self-Titled is probably one of the best albums in this past decade, along with Die Lit. So many bangers on both those 2 tracks alone. Cardi also being from Atlanta, which is where I'm from, really just wants to make me support him even more. I just love his production, his flow on any track, and his voice specifically. I also love the fact that Cardi kind of just lets the beat carry itself. His ad-libs are just amazing. They add lots of flavor to the tracks. Hold on, I'm just realizing I forgot the number 3 spot. Because number 4 I said Tyler. Sorry, but yes. Number 3, we got Travis Scott. Wait, I just completely forgot about that. I was looking at my list and I was like, damn, I forgot. But well, you guys know who's at number 2. But yes, at number 3, I got Travis Scott. Bro has just been a major inspiration to me. I remember being a freshman and wanting to go to Astroworld so badly. I love Travis' style. His production is out of this world. Who he adds on the production is crazy. And I loved on Astroworld how it was kind of a mystery who you had to find out who was on the track. I love his whole aesthetic. Travis is just that man. And his fans are wild, man. But some of my favorite tracks from Travis Scott are SDP Interlude, Stargazing, Coffee Bean, Astro Thunder, How Do You Feel, and Through the Late Night. We already talked about Playboi Carti. I'll just jump right into my favorite tracks from him. Okay, so some of my favorite tracks from Playboi Carti are R.I.P. Fredo, Foreign, Broke Boy, New Choppa, and Let It Go. Alright, so those are 9 amazing artists, but at the number 1 spot, who I feel like is my favorite artist and definitely beats all of those artists, in my opinion at least, has to be the man, Frank Ocean. Bro, I don't want to sound like that guy, but when I say Frank Ocean changed my life, Frank Ocean literally changed my life. I feel like before listening to Frank Ocean, I didn't know what music was. I know you guys are gonna be thinking that's crazy, but like seriously though, his music is really that good. I also love the fact that Frank Ocean is mysterious. You never really know what he has going on. And he hasn't come out into the public until like the last 2 years. But in between that time, Frank was just gone. And I think that's just cool as an artist because his fan base, at least his real fans, aren't gonna stick. They're gonna wait for that music to drop. And I literally can go on and on about Frank, his discography, so many more things. But I'll be doing a separate video on that. And I don't want to make this video too long. But some of my favorite tracks from Frank Ocean are Chanel, DHL, Monks, Nights. My favorite Frank Ocean track of all time is Provider. So tell me what you guys thought about this list. Was it valid? Was it invalid? I'll be doing a part 2 on this. If you guys like these types of videos, I kind of just want to do more breakdown videos, more top 10s, top 5 videos, some other videos that I have coming up, top 10 underrated artists, top 10 underground artists, top 10 UK artists. I also want to break down into fashion a bit more, my top 5 fashion designers, and maybe just breaking down history on musicians, artists, and fashion designers in general. Some ideas I have in mind are Kanye West, Vivienne Westwood. So tell me if you guys would like those types of videos. Obviously the setup's a bit new. I got me a little desk now, so it's a bit more comfortable. I'm not holding the mic. Yeah, tell me if you guys rock with these types of videos, and comment down below who your top 10 artists are. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next episode.